But if they tailor it to everyone and then there isn't like anything
Oh yeah,
untoward
like
happening, is it morally? And then, like I say, they just move on to Oliver accent, or they move on to Mark in his new suit being called Invincible, and everyone's making jokes about it. And I'm like,
yeah.
hold on, you've just asked the most important question since Aristotle died, and you've just fucking moved on. This is why I think this is one of the best Spider-Man shows we've had.
Okay.
Similar to Spectacular Spider-Man, it's managed to capture the essence of the people in Peter's life and the fact that Peter does have a life outside of
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man, and it's just this constant struggle of trying to balance them. Spectacular Spider-Man did a good job of it. I don't think any show has nailed that part of it as well as this show has. The silhouette of Sentry, whether that's being controlled by the Void or whatever, just creating like nuclear shadows of living people on the pavement
Was
is
like
fucking
brutal.
terrifying.
Yeah.
How are these people supposed to fight that? Hello and welcome back to Cutscene Convos. This is episode 149. God, these numbers are getting big. This week we have got a character profile on the one and only Groot. We have got more of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man to discuss. We have the first 3 episodes of Invincible to discuss.
We do.
We've got a preview for Reacher Season 3.
Yes.
And, as always, we have the Nerd News Network. But before all that good stuff, Horizontal, how's your week been?
My week's been pretty good. Obviously we've had Invincible came out after recording, so we had that to watch this week. My sister and nephew and niece came to stay for the weekend, so it was nice to see them. How's my niece now? 6, 7 months old, I want to say. Maybe a bit older than that. So, I mean,
Little
she,
bits of
like,
personality starting to
yeah,
appear.
yeah, started to be more aware of surroundings compared to the last time I saw her. So, and I ended up on uncle duty with my nephew, taking him to the park. Who, children, he's what, 5? All he wanted to do was spin on anything that would spin. So there was a roundabout, spin me faster. There's a tire swing, push me and spin me. Then there's like these little spinny poles that you can sit on, and like he just wanted spinning really fast. Then he would get up and try and run, which was hilarious for me. It was like watching a drunk toddler. Which
Kids
was
are like,
easily
when you look at a
entertained.
park now, you're like, what is the point of any of that stuff? But then when you think back to when you were a child, it was literally just let's fucking just go as fast as we can. Like, it was always the same. Like,
Mm.
I have quite a large family and a lot of cousins in a similar enough age bracket that we had a lot of fun when we were a bit younger. And as a result, you could like within a close enough age bracket, there was 6 of us. So it was very much a case of like you could have like 2 people on the fucking roundabout and 4 people sprinting around trying to make it go as fast as possible, and just watch them hold on for dear fucking life. It was mint.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it sounds like a lovely weekend.
Yeah, no, it was. And then this week's just been job hunting, playing Rivals. Josh has got me working on a logo for him, which is in the works.
I reckon you hold it hostage until he uploads a video.
I have insider knowledge of when this video is going to be done.
Is it actually going to be done this week?
Yes. Yeah, no, according to him. It might be like right at the end of the week.
Sunday at 11:59.
But so yeah, trying to get that done for him. I'll probably have some stuff over to him in the next few days for him to decide. But yeah, that's kind of been pretty chill. Otherwise, hitting the gym as always. My legs are sore today from a leg day, but we're seeing progress. I'm slowly getting back to like strength levels that I used to have, which is always fun.
Yeah, it's nice to feel like you're getting back to what you remember yourself being able to do.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, other than that, kind of a chill week for me. How's your week been?
Busy. It's been a busy week. Over the weekend, I edited. I want to say a personal best 6 main channel videos
It's
in a single
pretty good.
weekend, which was it was a haul. Might actually be 7. I might be lying. Anyway, um, and then it was getting everything ready for the charity drive announcement and getting ready for that and working out what was going on. Obviously, the Super Bowl on Sunday, so that made Sunday a very long
Oh
day.
yeah.
And then I was obviously off Monday, thank God. But my parents were back from Scotland on Monday, which meant that we finally went out for my dad's birthday dinner. It was his birthday on Friday, but they were away in Scotland. So we went out for dinner Monday, and then it was just back to work. And work is just constantly busy at the minute. So yeah, honestly, it's one of the ones where I woke up saying like, "Holy shit, it's Wednesday already." Am I even remotely prepared for today? I don't know. We'll find out. So I'm just kind of mulling through. But yeah, just busy week. Got another busy weekend coming up as more people are going around to look at the parents' houses up for sale. And then into London on Sunday for the WSL North London Derby, which should be good.
Cool.
I'm just kind of waiting for the other foot to drop before I finally sit there and I go, right, there's actually nothing I can do or need to do right now. And then no doubt I'll get like really weird and anxious about it. But at least I'll be able to like revel in the anxiousness instead of just bouncing from one thing to another.
True.
Um,
Yeah,
and
you did
planning the
your.
new setup.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say you did your charity thing. And you've already hit your first goal, nearly
Uh,
second goal.
no, we're past second goal now.
Oh,
We're
we
at
passed.
340 at time of recording. I want to say.
Very good.
So unfortunately, Deadlock does need to be reinstalled at some point. I'm kind of putting that off until I set a day of when I'm going to play it because I just don't want it mocking me.
You need a day off after as well to mentally recover.
To mentally recover. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a 3-hour stream. It's getting uninstalled, and if I ever see it again, I'm throwing hands with Null himself. Just, oi, Gabe. But hey, it's all charity. It's all worth it. Ironically, aside from running a marathon, it is literally like the thing I wanted to do the least. But I couldn't, in good faith, have that up at like 700-800 pounds. Imagine if it had gone, cut all my hair, get a tattoo, I'll play Deadlock again for 3 hours. That's just everyone's gonna be like, fuck no.
Yeah, well, what is deadlock?
Yeah, the majority of people I'm like targeting for donations don't give a fuck about a particular video game that makes me want to not be nice to myself. So yeah, that was a wild one. But yeah, I'm deep in the new PC come soon TM. Therefore, what else can I get away with changing at the same time? Because I'm sick of the L desk now. I feel trapped, ironically, despite like it being in the corner.
I
And I just don't have the room for the second PC on the desk, which means the desk is not desking well enough.
I get what you mean. I used to have an L desk through uni, and it's literally like since I came back, it's just sat in the garage because I had another desk already here, and I'm like, I don't know if I would ever go back to an L desk. I'd rather just have a longer desk.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Um,
I'm a little bit constrained by size in here, but the only way I think I could make an L desk work is if I was like had 2 monitors. Then the PC could shuffle up there more, and then I could use this space for anything that you would use on a desk that isn't computer related.
I get what you
But
mean.
I'm not doing that because I don't have the space for it. So the plan is to go to a slightly longer desk and a slightly deeper desk, so that my monitors are a more healthy distance away from my face.
No, you need to have them
And
like right
then
here.
CS styles.
Yeah.
And then a stream PC and new gaming PC are going to be put on some wheels, and they're going to be under the desk. It's going to be a lot tidier. It's going to be a lot nicer, and it will just I think it will just make the room feel a bit more open, which is the hope. But yeah, I'm very much in a I always want a project at the minute, and unfortunately that means my brain has started 4 and they're just getting juggled at the minute. It does make the work days go faster though, so I'm like doing the bits I need to do. My brain is just in the background tinkering away with ideas.
Fair.
But it's just absolute chaos. Shall we get into the character profile?
Yes, let's get into the character profile.
So we have Groot this week, the last of the Marvel Rivals gang for a little while. We'll be moving into some your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man character profiles from next week.
My tank main.
But let's get into it. Nature is both powerful and should be treated with respect, lest you find yourself at odds with it. The same can be said of Groot, who first appeared in Annihilation Conquest Star-Lord #1 in July 2007. As a Flora Colossus from Planet X, Groot was always different, because even as a sapling, he enjoyed spending time and interacting more with the maintenance mammals than the other saplings. These animals, who completed a lot of necessary works in the society, were treated overall very poorly by the adult Flora Colossus. And as a result, the saplings also, bar Groot, treated them terribly. He found them incredibly interesting and realised how valuable they actually were to society, and even began to campaign for their rights. He even inspired an undergrowth resistance of the maintenance mammals. This protection of those who couldn't protect themselves became a defining quality of Groot, and is also what led to him becoming exiled from his home world. One day, Groot saw a group of Flora Colossus brutalizing a maintenance animal, and in a fit of rage, Groot killed one of them. This led to him being forced off the world, never allowed to return. Many years later, as an adult, Groot found himself in a Kree prison. It was here Groot would meet his best friend in the form of his cellmate, Rocket Raccoon. Although they didn't see eye to eye at first, they developed a bit of a rapport and began looking out for one another, including Rocket protecting Groot from the guards who were mocking him for only being able to say, "I am Groot." This firmly cemented their relationship, and as such allowed Rocket to begin understanding Groot. Shortly after, they would be put under the command of Star-Lord for a covert ops mission. To save the team from death and complete the mission, Groot sacrificed himself. Fortunately, Rocket was able to find and save a twig, and from this, Groot was able to regrow. Shortly after this mission, the Guardians of the Galaxy would be formed, and the rest, as they say, is history. I
Very
do
cool.
find it incredibly interesting how kind of similar this is to what we saw in like the MCU, which is by far
Yeah.
Groot's most famous interpretation, but also that it cut out all the Planet X stuff. And it was like, oh, it's just the last of his species, instead of showing that he stands up for the little guy, which is like a massive. It's known about Groot that he stands up for the little guy, but to see that that came from like his home world, where instead of doing what was easy and standing with his fellow, he like protected the little guys. I'm also very curious about what society is like, where essentially it is a natural cycle, because like mammals are a natural part of keeping forests alive and stuff, but it's viewed as like the trees are all that matter. You guys are only allowed to do what you do because it benefits us.
Yeah, it's like the idea that all these giant trees that are all just saying, "I am Groot." And then there's just animals running around essentially looking after them, but they're probably kicked about and not treated as such.
Yeah.
It would be a cool
Ironically,
planet.
Groot initially existed before his actual first debut. Originally, the character known as Groot was a villain, in which he came to Earth and was trying to kidnap people, and then got beaten. This got retconned to be a different version of Groot that was like an ancestor, or
Right.
so he's like younger than this Groot. He's not directly related. They just like have the same name, like two Johns. Because they didn't want Groot to have this
Evil
same
side.
idea. And that's kind of, I think, where the idea that Planet X was a bit horrible towards like mammals came from, because it was like,
Mm.
oh, we already had Planet X mentioned, and it was an alien that was trying to kidnap mammals to go and be like a slave, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So we want Groot to be from this planet, but we want him to be good, so we're going to have him stand up for the mammals, and that'll be why he gets kicked out. But that will show that he cares about things that aren't
Yeah.
made of bark or whatever. Very interesting though.
Mm.
And as Hori mentioned, it is his main in Marvel Rivals.
Yeah. My
Very
only
solid
Lord
tank.
character.
Yeah, creepy ass Lord character as well.
It's my sleep paralysis demon.
On God. Um, should we talk about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? Not my
Uh,
friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I mean, yeah, another amazing 3 episodes.
Show just keeps its foot on the gas. It doesn't want to let
Yeah,
off. It's like no, we're gonna keep cooking away here.
just
Don't you
keeps
worry.
adding layers of things set up
Mm-hmm.
for later. I once again, my Travis Willingham radar went off immediately. Um, Secretary Ross was Travis
Oh, was
Willingham.
it?
Yeah, straight away I was like, that voice seems familiar. And then in the credits, I checked, and yes, once again, Travis Willingham has voiced 2 characters in this show, which then makes me think there's a potential, obviously, there of future Red Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he's already Red Hulk at this point, we don't know, but I don't think so. Also, if that other character was Rhino, he could also return as Rhino, which I think I know you were saying you didn't think it was the same names.
Yeah.
I think it has to have been, or like they've tweaked it, like a name's been sort of shortened, so it seemed different, but it is actually the same
Yeah.
character. That has to be Rhino, considering Dimitri returned as Chameleon.
Chameleon. Mm-hmm.
So my guess is he will be back as Rhino, and
Yeah.
similar to what we saw happen to Scorpion, with his suit fusing to his body, would work with the idea of the Rhino suit fusing to
Yeah.
his body.
Did you enjoy the nod to Spider-Man 2
How so? I might have
when they
missed
were
it.
trying to work out how Otto was powering his devices? And he said, "What about solar panel?" He's like, "I doubt he managed to harness the power of the sun."
Oh, I didn't kind of pick up on that, but yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
I mean, that's what I assumed it was a nod
Yeah,
to.
no, it
With this,
probably
this
will.
show being full of nods to like
Yeah,
other incarnations of Spider-Man, I thought that was pretty cool. The This is why I think this is one of the best Spider-Man shows we've had.
okay.
Similar to Spectacular Spider-Man, it's managed to capture the essence of the people in Peter's life and the fact that Peter does have a life outside of
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man. And it is just this constant struggle of trying to balance them and not
Yes.
let anyone down and striving to be perfect and never being able to be because you can't physically stop all of the crime in New York. And you got to remember in the Marvel world as well, crime in New York is even worse because anyone can get their hands on like in what would be considered in our world a weapon of mass fucking destruction.
Yeah.
Um, and
But
also like not bail on your friends for a party or a trip to the cinema or a night in or anything
yeah.
like that. And I like Spectacular Spider-Man did a good job of it. I don't think any show has nailed that part of it as well as this show has.
Yeah, like, and they've also I like that they've essentially addressed it already. Like, they were showing us that he was struggling, but then we got the breaking point this week where he to Aunt May is like, I'm struggling to not let everybody down and fail. Like, they're just like, okay, we've been showing you, like, look, he really is struggling with his life. Meanwhile, like you say, criminals got their hands on gamma powered weapons of destruction.
Yeah, it's just not ideal, is it?
No. So yeah, I'm enjoying that side of it, like you said, where they're balancing this 2 sides of Spider-Man and Peter, and like how he's trying to learn because he's still quite new to all this, and also balances everything else at the same time.
The other thing that's really impressed me is the way they're treating the Norman Osborn story. Because
Mm,
anyone who's like really interacted with Spider-Man substantially pre-MCU is very well aware that Norman Osborn is the Green Goblin.
yeah, it's like we said last week. We feel it feels weird him not being Green Goblin right now.
However, if you were like 3 years old in 2008, so if you were born like post 2005, and your entire Marvel life has been the MCU,
Mm,
you might not be as aware that Norman Osborn is the Green Goblin.
maybe.
Which means they know that we are going to
Mm,
enjoy the slow burn,
yeah.
and they get to drip feed little bits to people who might not instantly know that Norman Osborn is always a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're starting to build that a little bit with like Daredevil, who we know is a hero breaking into Oscorp. It's like, and then him not really giving a fuck about Peter during the fight with Scorpion because
Yeah.
he's just trying to work out where Otto is. To the Goblin Glider coming to save Peter,
Mm-hmm.
and him selling that Oscorp is essentially working on a bunch of equipment and prototypes and God knows what for the army post Sokovia Accords. It's
Mm-hmm.
like they're setting up very nicely that Norman is going to be a big problem.
Also, like the thing that really, because obviously we got the tease of the glider, which straight away I was like, no way he's already coming as Green Goblin. But then it's like just the glider. I was like, oh, we are seeing the beginnings.
Yeah,
Um, the other thing that like really stood out to me was his when he's talking with Peter and he's like, with great power. I was like, surely they're not going to have him say the line and goes, comes great respect. And if you don't have respect, you have no. And I'm like, oh, this shows his kind of moral compass is not actually in the right place with Peter. Um, and I think Peter's sort of like doesn't realize it, but he's questioning it. Um, but like I think at the moment they're showing that he's kind of just thinks he's failing. He's not necessarily like picking up on that maybe Norman Osborn's not got the right intentions.
exactly.
Um,
And that's the beauty because, and again, I know I've made the joke before that Spider-Man fans are only happy when Peter's suffering,
mm,
but that does set it up perfectly for Peter to beat the shit out of himself afterwards
mm-hmm.
for not realizing sooner and all of the pain and discomfort that Osborn has caused ending up biting him in the arse and so on and so forth.
I see the future being a case because obviously Norman's pushing him. He's like, you need to not stop pulling your punches and holding back. Which obviously everyone, people that know Spider-Man know his strength, so he always pulls his punches because otherwise he would kill a man.
I found
I
that
go on.
I found that comment very interesting because he'd been fighting Scorpion in that episode
Hmm.
and the infamous Superior Spider-Man where Otto was in control of his body and he doesn't pull his punches. It's Scorpion whose jaw gets punched
Oh,
clean
is
off,
it?
which is when Otto realizes why Peter always pulled his punches. So I found it very interesting that that was
That's cool.
mentioned
Yeah.
after a Scorpion fight.
I wonder if like Norman's gonna push him to obviously like stop holding back. And I think Peter's kind of gonna listen to it because he thinks he's failing Norman and he's failing like he's not doing a good enough job. I wonder if he gets in another fight with Scorpion again or someone else, isn't pulling his punches and like um Tombstone, I forget her name is
Lonnie.
Lonnie. My thought is like, does Lonnie show up and like in the midst of a fight when he's not pulling his punches, he hits Lonnie and like really hurts him, and then that makes him go, "Wait a second, I'm not doing the right thing anymore."
It's
Like
very
there's
possible.
because that would then because it's his friend, then that adds into their whole Pete has to suffer. Um, I really
I've also
enjoyed Daredevil being in this though this week,
yeah,
and
I
it was
think
Charlie
it was
Cox.
I think it was a very tidy way to do a cameo. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if there'll be any more of this season or if we won't see him again until next season or what. But I think that's a very tidy way, again, just to make the world feel lived in.
Mm. I think we might see him again because of the way he was looking into Norman. Um, maybe in a case of like Peter, maybe it's down the line a bit, and he realizes Norman's not good, and he has something for Daredevil or wants to ask him something. I liked though that they were just calling him the Devil, which then helped kind of show their perspective of like, oh, this is clearly some villain criminal, not Daredevil, the hero of Hell's
Um,
Kitchen.
one thing I'm really curious about. So more recently,
Mm-hmm.
the creative team at Marvel had Norman Osborn rehabilitated briefly, um, and he was a hero, going as the Golden Goblin or
Right.
the Gold Goblin, and he was acting as good. It all went wrong, but that was the idea. I wonder if they're going to have him starting off as the Golden Goblin, and then he starts maybe pushing it a bit too far. Peter goes, "Knock that shit off. That is not how heroes act." And then without the superpowers of the operation being Spider-Man, he then, or
Maybe.
after just getting his arse beat potentially, he then tries the serum that's not quite ready and goes batshit crazy. I'm just curious to see how he gets from where he is now, which is morally ambiguous. You like we've not seen
Hmm.
anything to go he's out and out evil, and there's no evidence to suggest that he doesn't think what he's doing is the right thing.
Yeah. I think
To being a psycho like the Green Goblin is.
you could be on the right track because like the glider we saw was chromed, so like there's
Mm-hmm.
very easily could do it as just a chrome version or like he is golden, like you say. I wonder if his like conversation with Secretary Ross at that fundraiser and being like, if there's anything we can help you with, prototypes or like other things. Obviously, the army we know constantly was trying to reproduce this super serum.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's part and parcel, he starts working with them on stuff, gets some files on like what the serum's sort of made from, and then has his own go at recreating it because he wants to improve helping Peter or something, and uses it on himself, like you say, and then it ends up pushing him in the wrong direction too much.
I really like, and it's difficult because they're already playing into the idea that Norman's motives aren't like pure.
Hmm.
But I do really like the idea of Norman acting in good faith and genuinely trying to do the right thing. And his own hubris trips him up and he turns into just a psychotic, rampaging monster. I prefer that to he was already like a little bit evil and it just
Yeah.
made him worse. I like the idea of he might not have been doing the right thing, but he was trying to do the right thing, and
Yeah.
then his own ego and hubris got in his way. Because then that's kind of the difference between Spider-Man and Green Goblin. Peter is trying to do the right thing, and his
Mm-hmm.
ego does get in his way, but he does everything he can to put his ego to a side.
Yeah.
Whereas Green Goblin
Doesn't have that control.
is yeah, he lets his ego dictate everything. A lot of the time that's how Peter beats him by playing on his ego.
Yeah, I could see it being a case of like Peter's struggle. Like, he goes to help him, or he starts helping him, and it's like he wants to do more, and then that's his ego. Something that's why he starts messing around with a serum or something. I'm intrigued to see if we get Doc Ock. We're gonna see him again. Like
Yeah.
he was only arrested. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. It's the sort of thing where like the military just employs him to make them things. Um,
It would be very, very not a massive shock.
I liked the tease of like his arms though being the defense of the lab.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
They're playing with it already. They've already like the second that they mentioned about the fact that it was gamma could mean if it overheats it like fuses to someone.
mm-hmm.
I was like, right, so Scorpion's gonna get made permanent during the
Yeah,
episode.
yeah. I thought that, and then my brain, like I said earlier, thought about Rhino because what we've said about
Mm-hmm.
his suit. Oh yeah, like
Exactly. That they've set up the perfect excuse for
mm-hmm.
anyone to get trapped in their suit and then they're like that forever.
It also could lean into maybe something that adds to what happens to Lonnie to
Yeah.
become Tombstone.
Bearing in
Um,
mind the way that Tombstone works being like incredibly tough skin, basically impenetrable, like on a normal level, not like a Luke Cage level.
yeah,
I can only assume they're all going to have that be like via some kind of tech or something that
Hmm.
gets used to him.
That's
And
my
it's very
thought.
sad to see that he's like he now feels an obligation to the
Would
110.
That's the other
It
thing
kind of
with
shows like the grooming process of a gang in a way, doesn't it?
yeah, and like that's been like the B story obviously throughout this whole show. I enjoyed these episodes of us seeing him slowly slipping now more into kind of I'm in too deep, but then also now we're starting to be like I'm okay being in too deep. Like this is the only like his attitude shift of like I've made my choices. Like this is I didn't get to follow my other choices because this is the situation I'm going in. And well, this is the situation I'm now going with.
Yeah. I think I wasn't put here by choice, but I'm going to make it work as best I can.
Hmm. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see how that goes. The Iron Man cameo was fun with the Doc Ock stuff.
It was so nice getting a proper comic book looking Iron Man suit.
Mm-hmm. With
Weird
the
ass looking
yeah,
helmet,
yeah.
proper like I don't even know what's called, like seams almost that were like raised at like the body where the arm connects to the body. It was so cool. I really, really enjoyed that. And
I
again, it was really well done. It just makes the
yeah,
world feel a bit more lived in. Iron Man was on the side of the government during the Sokovia Accords.
yeah.
Norman used his relationship with Ross to get Octavius dealt with. So who
Mm-hmm.
does he use? He uses the superhero who's on his side.
Yeah, I liked the fact of like Doc Ock wasn't taking them seriously because it was just guards, and then it's like, oh no, you have a proper current like top end superhero has to show
Yeah.
up and help shut him down, and he's like, okay, I surrender now. But it's gonna yeah, it's interesting. Something else with like Osborn, he showed obviously Secretary Ross, oh, I've got this personal superhero that I'm
Mm-hmm.
employing, and obviously showed it was his security guard, not Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing of kind of his ego of like hiding the true nature of what's going on with Spider-Man and wanting full control over the situation more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else went down. Oh, the whole I we kind of joked about Nico and Harry
Arrow.
getting a bit
Yeah,
like her being kind of annoyingly getting used to liking him. I like
yeah.
that they've already started that she's kind of realizing, okay, maybe he's not this stuck up content creator. Uh, the race, something is got like she's got to be somebody.
Yes, she is.
Okay, because we were
Um,
thinking she wasn't right.
no, it was a name I recognise, but I'm not too familiar with. She'll be the character profile next week, and yes, we are
Okay,
starting to see her necklace
yeah, I
slash
was like, what was that
amulet has
amulet?
something going on. Earlier on in the episode, before she used it, you kind of heard her
She
speak
talked
to
to it,
it.
yeah. Which I was
Yeah,
like, okay, family amulet. I was like, in classic comic book fashion, I was like, okay, it's a very it's a solid purple. So there's like a iconic color theme here with this. Talking to, I was like, okay, family amulet, purple, something. This is gonna be her color for something. And then when she's in the race and it does like a little flash and it helps her dodge a car, I was like, okay, something's going on here which we don't know yet, but
yeah.
whether she knows, I don't know. Is the other
The
thing.
I'm very curious about her because I'm not familiar with her at all. So I look forward to learning more about her next week. It is very interesting to see her and Harry kind of realize they're very similar despite how different their lives are,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm enjoying it. I will say this batch of 3 episodes gave me my second complaint about the entire show.
Okay.
You're not going to predict it because it is such a nitpicky complaint, and I know it's a nitpicky complaint, but when the rest of the show's doing great, I don't mind the occasional nitpick. Right at the end of the last episode,
Mm-hmm.
Harry shows Peter his new suit. And we
Yeah.
get like the glowy red so that we know it's in the iconic colours, and I'm
Yeah.
very excited for it. Harry then turns to Pete and goes, "Go get him, Tiger." Now, I know that's an iconic line. However, it is iconic because MJ says it's Peter in like a playful, flirty, way. And that phrase will always have at least a little bit of sexual tension to me. So hearing Harry say it to him made me feel a little weird.
Oh, I didn't even.
Now, if they're trying to use that to set up like a popular thing that seems to be happening in Spider-Man media, is Harry ends up being Venom.
Okay.
So they can make this line make sense in a way that I'm okay with if they decide to, after the black suit arc with Peter, or before that, sorry, Peter like rebuffs Harry in a way where Harry's like interested in Peter romantically, which is kind of a bold decision, but I'm not necessarily against it, and that
Right.
kind of causes a bit of a fracture. Then, or maybe he rebuffs him while he's in his black suit phase, and therefore he's a lot harsher with Harry than he should be. And then when Peter gets rid of the black suit, traditionally the way Venom comes about is the black suit finds a host who hates Spider-Man and Peter Parker as much as it does.
Right.
And that's how they create that bond. What if black suit Peter, that's being all like angry at the entire world because of what the suit's doing to him, is horrifically horrible to Harry in a like a rebuff of like a romantic advance, and then the suit seeks out Harry, and then that's how they give us Venom. If they don't do that, that line just makes me uncomfortable because there's no need for it. That line should be reserved for MJ and MJ alone, in my opinion. Or
I mean,
another superhero like Johnny Storm saying it mockingly to him after MJ has said it.
I get that. I mean, they obviously aren't. It didn't
It just
work to me.
you know, sometimes in a show or something, there's like a line or something where like you just go like that, and you're just like, oh, that was a bit weird. That was my neck almost fucking snapped when it happened. I was like, oh no, that was weird. I didn't like that. But other than that, the show's fucking great. And like I said, I know it's nitpicky as hell, and the majority of people won't care. But it bugged me a little bit because I'm like, it's just there's a weird sexual energy to that line when it's used in Spider-Man media, and I just don't like it being used in this context.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just glad we're getting a red and blue suit, and
Oh, it's gonna be so fire.
it makes sense because like they showed us that white and blue so early in like trailers and stuff. It would have been weird if that was like that was his suit to reveal. Like there's no like build up to the reveal of it.
And they've also not done the whole earning your suit bullshit. They've just
No.
done it as a case of he was using the suit, it broke, so Harry, showing that he's learnt Peter a little bit, got the colours sorted for him because why not?
Well, yeah, it's part of like him learning his limits. Suits like after the first one, he's like, "Oh, I need this to be fireproof." Then this next one has all like built-in stuff. It was fireproof, but it wasn't strong enough for what he fought with. He needs a new one that's probably going to be a slight upgrade again.
Yeah.
I also liked on this whole thing of like they just keep adding layers to things they're teasing. The animals getting signed into Osborn Labs and Connor's being like, "Oh, is that something?" and paying attention to it. It's like, "Oh, that's just a little hint that she's like somewhat intrigued by these animals and obviously going to end up looking into that."
I would, although I enjoy like having a good idea of what they might do, I would love to know what it's like to enjoy this show with very little knowledge of any of the characters.
Yeah.
Imagine this being like your first Spider-Man cartoon. Imagine being like the 5, 6, 7-year-olds out there who are just now watching their first ever Spider-Man cartoon. They don't know all these iconic villains.
No.
And they're just like falling in love with like, oh, Norman's so great. Oh, Carla's so sweet to him. I can't wait to see how them relationships develop. And they're just like two of his biggest villains. It's going to be so good. Another thing I really enjoyed, which I think adds a lot of, I don't know, power to the Spider-Man storytelling and mythos, is I like to call it the Dark Souls idea. Or
Okay.
like a Souls-like idea, where in like a Dark Souls game, the normal characters, like the normal like AI that you fight that aren't bosses, for the most part, are pretty easy to kill.
Yeah.
But if they catch you off guard when you're not paying attention, they will fuck you up and you'll be like, what the fuck just happened? Right?
Mm-hmm.
They're like designed in this perfect balance of if you're paying attention, apart from a boss, the game like isn't too bad. You can get through them
Yeah, yeah.
pretty easily. But if one catches you off guard, it is absolutely dangerous enough to just kill you and reset you.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what they're doing with his villains. Like Scorpion isn't one of Spider-Man's hardest ever fights. He can deal with him pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But if Peter is worried about something else or struggling with something else or not fully there, or in this case, because it's the first time underestimating him slightly,
Mm-hmm.
he can absolutely get caught off guard. And what it does is it builds up Scorpion a little bit to show how dangerous he is. And then by extension, if Scorpion gets slapped about by like Otto later for like
Yeah.
mouthing off back because his suit he can't get the suit off or whatever,
Yeah, that's true.
it then builds up Otto, so
Mm-hmm.
instinctively in your brain you're like, oh my god, he's even scarier than Scorpion. So then when it comes to him and Peter fighting, there's even more weight to it, and it's a really powerful storytelling device to show how powerful Peter is, while also like because everyone knows that Scorpion isn't like one of the villains that Peter gets really stressed about.
Mm.
It's like I beat Scorpion on my way to work in the morning type beat, not a he's a 6 issue arc normally. So having him be the person who like almost made Peter realise he's still human and can die,
Yeah.
I thought was a really cool decision.
Mm.
The brutality of that beatdown as well
Yeah.
surprised me.
There was a couple of ways of like they got around stuff by just showing like legs, but we know what was happening to that person. And then
Mm-hmm.
like Peter getting stabbed through the shoulder, but they just show a bit of blood. Like they don't
Mm-hmm.
fully show how he was. Yeah, there was some pretty rough moments. And just you then saying about like Scorpion maybe going back to Doc Ock and being like, "Why can't I get the suit off?" It made me remember that the 110 got off Camille and got the location for the lab. Obviously, he's not going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
There's just all that tech probably just going to be left there. Could lead to like Lonnie finding something that they don't get the instructions on how to use. They just put it on and use it, and then it obviously could
Yeah.
malfunction.
What I'm really curious to know about is if any of the people in that picture that Norman showed of him
Oh,
and
when they were
Otto, if
younger.
any of them other three were important. I didn't pay that close attention, but I wasn't surprised if they're references to other people we need to keep an eye out for.
Hmm.
But overall, this show's
Oh,
phenomenal. It's just
yeah.
going strength to strength every
But
episode.
we've only got 2 episodes left.
Yeah, double build to finish it off. Thank God that they're already working on season 2 and that season 3 is greenlit, by the way.
Yeah.
If we finished this and then we had to sit here for 6 weeks waiting to find out whether season 2 was going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd lose my mind.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
and having seen it, I think we understand why they were so confident going, yeah, get working on a second and also a third after that.
if they hadn't already announced it, I think midway through like these episodes coming out, they would have already said, "Oh yeah, by the way, season 2 and 3 is already greenlit."
Yeah.
Like we see you loving it anyway, but like just so you know. But
But
yeah,
like, I'm not. It's hilarious because coming into this show, that all you saw about the show was like ill will. Everyone's like, it
yeah,
looks ugly. I don't like it. I don't get it. Blah blah blah. Since it's come out, I've not seen a single negative thing. Everyone's like, oh, this fucks hard, you know.
yeah. I think people, like I guess we're just going in thinking, oh, it's going to be a subpar story, and then it's this animation style that we're not so keen on, so it's going to be bad. Whereas it's actually a really great story. They're doing some great stuff with like setting characters up and different, and like giving us
So
loads of
much
stuff that we want.
heart.
And then it's like, okay, the animation style might not be your favorite, but you're going to be enjoying the story enough that you can kind of overlook that. And then for those that
And it
are,
works really well.
yeah, and those that do, like somewhat enjoy the animation style are like, oh, this just collectively is a great format, like what they're doing.
Do you know what? I forgot to mention it earlier, but do you know what really like stood out to me as to why I love this animation style and how effective it is as like a comic book imitation?
Go on.
Pearl's hair.
Mm-hmm.
So Pearl's hair is jet black.
Yeah.
but to like give it depth and shading, they're using the light blue,
Yeah.
which is such a comic book trick to give like shading and detail to something that's
So, yeah.
black.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like when my eyes actually noticed it, because obviously you're not staring at the hair while you're watching a show, you're
No.
just watching it. And when I realized that's what they were doing, I was like, oh my god, they really were just like, we are making a comic book show here. And like the scene of Peter walking home depressed
Yes, that
from
was what
Pearls,
we got more
using
of
the
the panel
panels to
things.
walk
Yeah.
through, it's just so good, man. I love what they're doing. I hope they get even more brave with the way they use this
Hmm.
style in the following seasons.
I think they will.
Absolutely. And speaking of phenomenal animation,
Yeah. Great week for animation.
it is. I don't know when this happened exactly, Hori, but around about this time last year, we were chowing down on Bad Batch and X-Men '97 and getting
Yeah.
ready for the second half of Invincible. Animation to start off each year just being lit for like 3 months before like the first big film. I'm kind of here for.
I'm just like we we've been eating good with animation for a while now. Because like we had X-Men '97, it was like, okay, this is finally the MCU's getting back to cool animation. Now they're hitting us with Spider-Man, which is great. Then you've got Prime, we've had Invincible, then we got the Critical Role, Vox
Yeah.
Machina. Now we're back on Invincible again. But yeah, like starting the year off strong with animation again, it feels great.
In big old 2025, if you don't have an animated show that you're enjoying, you might actually be less intelligent. Because there are so many good animated shows to choose from. Just fucking pick one.
Okay, so
Who's still looking down their nose at
confirmed.
animation?
Anime fans confirmed the highest of intelligence because they're non-stop watching animation.
There's a level. There's a balance. There's a balance. But yeah, no. At this point, if you're just like refusing to watch any animated shows,
Hmm,
you just think you're too big and important, and you're missing out on some of the better storytelling available right now.
agreed.
But yeah, we're finally back with Invincible.
We are, and it feels good to be back. It
It feels
does.
so good to be back. I was doing a little happy shuffle watching all 3 episodes.
I mean, there was a lot seemed to happen in these. We got 3 episodes to be start
3 episodes,
Yeah.
and it really did like 0 to 100 in them 3 episodes.
Yeah, like obviously we kicked off with like Mark's been training and these different ways that they're trying to figure out how to help him get stronger. Having him fight some parents like giant child.
When it's revealed that that giant thing he was fighting was
Just a
an
baby.
8-year-old, I couldn't help but chuckle.
It was such a funny way of doing it because like the stereotype of giants are they are dumb, bumbling idiots. They're just big. And it's like, oh, it's typical giant. And then they're like, oh, no, this is a child. You're like, oh, that's why it's a bumbling idiot. Um, but yeah, like the trainings arc little montage was really cool to watch.
I enjoyed
Um,
watching like the sprints to the moon and back.
yes, and he's like, I would have been quicker, but I got lost, and they're like, that was still really fucking fast.
I love the notion of getting lost. Like, I'm sure I can't fly. I'm sure, in theory, with like the Earth rotating and stuff, it's very possible to get lost. But the notion of getting lost is quite funny.
Well, you've got to think like if you're say like the way I was like in my house, like, that actually kind of makes sense. Because say I flew to the moon and I come back and I'm like, okay, I can spot where the UK is, where like that I in my head I can visualize the glow. I'm like, okay, that's the UK I'm heading towards. I'd be like, okay, I know I need to go like northwest, coastal, and I'll be pretty close to Preston. As you get like in, I'm not necessarily going to know what it looks like from above. I'm going to land and be like, I could be in a field, but where the fuck am I?
Absolutely. It's like, just imagine like when you're in a plane and you've like taken off
Mm-hmm.
a little while ago and you're like flying over some land. You don't know where you are. You have
No,
a rough idea based on how long you've been in the air. But if you were to just get dropped out and told to land, you wouldn't know where the fuck you are.
I'd be like, right, where's Blackpool Tower? That's like my only landmark that I know to head towards.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's one of them things that you don't consider that this show's
No.
quite good at just like reminding you of. It's like, why would he know while flying back to America, which is a big fucking country? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
he'll probably be able to aim himself at the right state,
Mm-hmm.
but they're also in the middle of a desert. Deserts are famous for being big, so even if he locates the right part of the desert, there's still a chance that he's not going to the right part of that desert.
Well, yeah, and he's got to find a little tent from like way up in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought the whole like thing with Rex, like he's on the training thing and Rex shows up and he's like, oh wait, the jokiness that them two have got so far in this season is great.
The Rex recovery from being an asshole arc, I am all here for.
Yeah, and him constantly self-checking himself for like his jokes is also great because he's like, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm a changed person. We're not doing that anymore. We don't make those jokes. Yeah, no, the Rex arc is great. I'm enjoying that. Are we assuming that Oliver is probably going to get himself killed or hurt? Or
But
seriously hurt?
I'm now more worried that um Mark's gonna have to deal with Oliver.
That is also another consideration, yeah.
With the way this show likes to just have a gut punch moment,
Mm.
I've got a horrible feeling that Oliver is gonna get worse and worse and worse. And then it's gonna become a point of, by not killing you, I'm being more morally reprehensible than like just trying to control you. Because there's no one on Earth that can control a half Viltrumite safely.
No.
Especially one that
I
isn't worried about any collateral damage.
I wonder, because obviously we know Cecil is paying attention
Mm-hmm.
as he does. What if it, like you say, Oliver gets worse and worse, keeps kind of, oh, I'm just a kid, like I didn't mean to, and yeah, I'm sorry that I did that, but isn't actually, and doesn't care that he's just obliterated someone or accidentally thrown a
The,
villain into just a civilian and splattered them.
the
Like,
Mauler twins deserved better than that.
I mean, yeah, rip to the twins. They had a great run through so many altercations and survived. But I mean, unless there's a copy somewhere hidden away, that might be the end of them. But yeah, you could be right. He could end up kind of crossing a line, and we can see that he's already very quickly getting stronger and like his getting used to his powers a lot quicker than Mark did. Which I think then we get to a point where does he get to a point where Mark is matched by him? And
It's
it's
an
like,
interesting one. Like,
or like
not having
Oliver.
any knowledge of what's going to
Mm,
happen is like, I'm like, this could go anywhere from, like, say, Oliver gets himself killed to Mark has to, like, of mice and men him.
yeah, or like I see it being like me as the younger sibling of two older sisters. There was a point when I got old enough that I was like, huh, I'm stronger than my sister now. There's a thing where Oliver could suddenly be like, realizes that Mark's not strong enough to stop him. And he goes, you're not the boss of me. And like you say, Mark's then stuck. Does he, because he probably won't be able to do it himself, does he then have to turn back to Cecil to be like, I can't control him anymore and make that like that choice to be like, I can't do this, you have to do it.
Mm-hmm. It's really fun, and this season is really playing on that whole superhero morality.
Mm.
Like that is clearly like an overarching theme of this season because from our point of view, with Mark being the protagonist, Cecil was being a dick. But on the flip side, if you just imagine as a human
Yeah.
in the room, you understand why Cecil's like, you could end this world. We have nothing to stop you. So fuck yes, I'm investing in every solution in case you turn out to be a fucking psycho like your daddy.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like, our only other example of you and your kind is your dad, and look how that went. we needed you to stop him. We don't currently have another you to stop you.
It asks the beautiful question of at what point do the ends no longer justify the means? And that's the balance that we're always trying to strike. And Cecil sits on that line beautifully in what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
But the way he goes about it and the way he kind of handles Mark's concerns don't work. And also because from our point of view of Mark being the protagonist, we assume that Mark is correct.
Yeah.
But if he's not, Cecil is very quickly in the right.
Yeah, this is the thing, like that whole fight with Cecil essentially from the White Room onward, where Mark's like, you brought Dark Hole, I forget the character's name. Darkwing. He's like, he's a criminal. Like, why are you using like, and it's like, that is a valid concern. Like, and these robots, you're using the evil scientist to make you robots. That's wrong. And it's like, okay, we get that. And Mark's concerns are right, and the way Cecil just kind of dismisses them could be handled better. Like, but also Cecil's kind of right in that, in a way, like, yes, these people have done criminal things. Technically, criminals should be given the opportunity to reform. And
this show made me question some of my own beliefs. Because I'm a big believer in reformation of convicts, and the prison system doesn't work if people feel a need to recommit offences, and there isn't like a good system set up on the outside world to like integrate convicts back into society. But at the same time, I 100% agree with Mark that not so much Darkwing, but the evil scientist is a fucking insane thing to do.
So I'm like, it's so like you say, it's such a weird, great like line where you're struggling on either side. Because
Darkwing
Darkwing,
it so well.
My attitude is like, yeah, okay, use Darkwing, but like between him being needed on a mission, he put him back in his cell. He's still a criminal. Like, he has to work towards having the freedom.
Oh, you want to Suicide Squad him?
Yeah, like, I mean it's one thing like, oh, you robbed like you're a burglar and we're trying to reform you, to, oh, you're a superhero criminal. Like, there needs to be a little bit more control over there, like they're easing back in, rather than just being like, oh, back into the Guardians of the fucking Globe or whatever.
Exactly.
Free will.
And this is the beauty of it, because there is no easy like ethical moral dilemma, because these are questions that we can't test in the real world.
No.
Because we can only think about actual criminals, and everything short of like murderers.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, murderers shouldn't get like a second chance, apart from like very rare circumstances. But that's not neither here nor there. The majority of criminals should be given a second chance, and unless it's a violent crime, probably a third and a fourth chance, because you've got to keep trying to give people the chance to do the best they can.
Yeah.
But once you add in the notion of superpowers and mass murderer, it's like, okay. And again, he's not very clear about how he reforms them.
Well, no, they've clearly got under some weird psychotherapy.
No, but we assume that. We assume that, but there's no actual evidence of that.
True, he could just.
And the only evidence we get is when we get that flashback episode of him being put in prison after essentially being the mark of his situation. He gets put in prison, and then the Cecil of his situation comes in and goes, "This was your rehabilitation program. Look, it worked." Which is supposed to plant that seed of doubt in our head of, okay, so what if actually he didn't do any weird shit to Darkwing and the Doctor, and he actually did reform them without like psychological tampering?
I reckon there is psychological tampering. The question will be, is it like a permanent fix, or is it like a, oh, you've kind of surface level shifted them and things start coming out again?
Question though, is changing the core person by like whatever means, say it's just a drug to keep it clean and there's like no torture involved or whatever, does that mean the person's actually reformed and should be given a second chance, or are they just a puppet? And it's brilliant because they're just asking these moral questions and then just moving on to the next fight scene like it's nothing. And
Yep.
my brain's still sat there going, well, hold on a minute. Because I agree instantly, I was like, okay, so he's drugged them or like tortured them into submission or something. But then we get the flashback where he was rehabilitated and he was just straight up rehabilitated. That his boss put him in a situation to understand his point of view without doing anything illegal or dodgy whatsoever. He committed 2 murders, so he put him in prison for it.
Yeah, but I think his rehabilitation was like a specific kind of tailored to what he needed to be.
But if they tailor it to everyone and then there isn't like anything
Oh yeah,
untoward
like
happening, is it morally? And then, like I say, they just move on to Oliver accident, or they move on to Mark in his new suit being called Invincible, and everyone's making jokes about it. And I'm like,
yeah.
hold on, you've just asked the most important question since Aristotle died, and you've just fucking moved on. But
Also,
these 3 episodes have literally just looked me dead in the fucking eye and go, "Do you actually believe in rehabilitation?" And then fucked off to the next bit. I
it's
couldn't believe
also
it.
I enjoying the fact that we got Cecil backstory because it showed that he was in the same mental space as Mark, was just an agent, then was like, what the fuck, why are we using them again? Was then posed the question of, well, they just saved our life. Like, they did something right. Like, and then he's like, well, shit, yeah, but then he murders them, which I thought was a very fair response to the situation, gets put in prison. We don't get to know what he actually did to get all those criminal monsters in line. Like,
Hmm.
something went down. He
It's so
sort of,
interesting.
I get the sense that like his rehabilitation was more, I don't think he came out of that prison thing being like, oh yeah, we should use all criminals. I think it was more, I don't know, I don't think he was 100% convinced by that point, but he came out because it was like, oh, this is me getting out of prison, I'll take the job
I
because I'd
think
rather this than
I think he came out understanding that people can change because he got people to behave and not like
mm,
I imagine like we are meant to ask that question of how did he get it in line? Did he get it in line by like almost being like a criminal boss so everyone was too scared? Or did he solve problems people were having to make prison a less horrible experience so they'd behave? And like we're never going to know the answer to that, I imagine.
unless,
But
well,
that is the kind of point. But I think that that entire experiment was just to show Cecil that you can control things that seem uncontrollable, and people can change. And then
yeah,
that's all you need to fundamentally believe to then go down that path of they're incredibly powerful and they're evil. Let's see if we can use them. Because it's not like every villain that has been caught has been converted. Maybe there are some guys like
no,
they didn't try and convert Doc Seismic.
true,
So did he just go, that guy is too wackadoodle to possibly be
yeah.
trustworthy and safe? And it's just it's so good. And then she's like, oh, Seth Rogen is an alien. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, fucking Alan's strong as fuck. It's
The fact
like,
that he just tanked a laser is
well, and the
comedy.
way they set that up, and he's like, "Oh shit, that's a big laser." I was like, "Oh, he's gonna be like obliterated," and then while they're like doing experiments on his body, he's gonna regenerate and be stronger. But no, he just goes back to his cell with like a burn mark on his chest. And it's like, "Oh, you're not dead from that." That's kind of more worrying because now they're gonna really question his like abilities. I'm looking
What
forward
I'm
to him and
go
Omni Man breaking out though.
what following on from that, I'm really, really, really looking forward to Omni Man and Alan arriving on Earth. For Cecil to want to throw Omni Man in prison forever,
Oh yeah,
and Invincible going, no, he's changed, and then both instantly becoming the hypocrite to their own argument.
yeah. And if Oliver's still around, then you're gonna have him being like, "Dad, I'm just like you," and he's gonna then see what he was doing wrong in his own son. If he's still alive by that point, who knows? Um,
I'm so curious. Also, awesome that Eve is back in school and Mark and Eve are finally together.
oh yeah, I love that Eve's doing architecture so she can build things with her powers and actually safe things.
Of course, it was the thing in season 2, wasn't it, where
Yeah,
she
the
tried to make
park.
that building safe and it all went terrible.
Well, she did the park, didn't she? And then it like collapsed into the
Yeah.
ground. Yeah, no,
Um.
I thought it was funny that she's like, well, yeah, I've got powers, but I'm trying to learn how to better use them. As
Yeah.
simple as like
I don't
architecture.
understand how plumbing works, and I built a block of flats and no one had water, and it was terrible.
Yeah. But that's like things that you would like if you had her power, you wouldn't think, oh,
Why
like
would you?
here's a house. You wouldn't think about, oh, I need to think about the wiring and all the plumbing and everything. Like I can't just make a house.
But I also think it's going to make her powers even more impressive as she gets better with them. Because when she does, like, I don't know, like magic up like a fucking aeroplane or whatever, and it works, you're going to be like, wow, she had to actually make an aeroplane. Yeah, the putting it
Mm.
together part she could do instantly, but she had to know how to put it together.
Yeah, and it'd be things like there's going to be some situation where she needs to quickly build something to stop a structure falling over, and it'll be like very structurally sound, or like there'll be things like that where it's like she won't think twice about it, but everyone will be like, "The fuck, you just made that?"
I
Because
love the
of
idea that
schooling's working.
after becoming an architect and understanding all she needs to understand, that she could just crush the housing market in America by just going to an
Yeah.
area that's undeveloped, magicking up like an entire city and just giving everyone a house for free. I'm like, yeah, I fixed homelessness. You're welcome. Oh, by the way, houses are now worth nothing because I can magic one up for free for anyone who needs one.
Or just going around like all the rundown houses and making them like,
Just fix them up, yeah.
yeah, so then their value
Derelict buildings,
skyrockets.
yeah. It's
Uh,
just it's hilarious to think that they're the kind of powers where I would be seen as a supervillain because the media would hate me because I'm literally just crashing the economy so that everyone can have a house without having to worry.
I'm trying to think. I don't. Well, the Declaration of Independence was stolen by those two. That's going to be
From
something
the
that's going to.
future.
Yeah, it's clearly something that's going to come back later in the
Mm,
season. Um, the what else went down?
multiple.
Oh yeah, and his sister was alive because she kept a
Yeah.
secret copy. The
So
split of the Guardians of the Globe, and then they're no longer calling themselves the Teen whatever.
the Teen Titans, or no, the Team, the Teen Team.
Yeah, they need to come up
Um,
with a new name.
the split of the Guardians was really interesting because it showed literally how divisive the way Cecil operates is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, we are supposed to sit on the side of Mark and Rex and Eve and all
Yeah,
that. So it shows Cecil as being a bit more obtuse than he needs to be, and it shows the people that agree with Cecil as being a bit more obtuse than they need to be. But they do have valid concerns. They're just being dicks in the way they're putting them across.
yeah,
Like Immortal going, yes, Mark needs to be kept on a short leash. Look what happened when his dad was allowed to do whatever the fuck he wanted unchecked. He
yeah,
literally cut my fucking head off. Like,
yeah, yeah,
that's a valid concern. But just going, you guys are dumb, you don't understand why Cecil is doing this, Mark evil, when they all know Mark and they don't believe he is even remotely evil, they're going to be like, no, you fucking weirdo. He's put a bomb in Mark's neck for no reason. Mark
mm,
saved us from Omni Man. That should earn him the trust that he needs to operate, which is also a valid point. It's so good. You know how much I love when the shows show like their own made up politics and then
yeah.
like actually hash them out in a really well put together way.
Something that I'm intrigued to see from season 2 is the books, his dad's books, because he
Mm,
was like, "There's something hidden in these. I want to see if he actually gets to chance to sit down and figure that out this season."
yeah, that'd be very cool. I'm hoping that is the case. Because with like you say, with the Alan and Omni Man arc developing to where they might make their escape soon,
Mm,
Mark kind of needs to already have been looking into the books and maybe found some of it, but not all of it, before Omni Man returns.
yeah, because then he could tell him the rest.
Yeah, but what a show! It's always a good time when shows are fun, and I don't think anything exemplifies that more right now than Invincible
Hmm.
and I
One
just can't
last
see
thing:
it.
the title screen this year, flipping between the two colorways, because it's kind of showing new Mark and old, like,
Are you aware of what that's actually a reference to? The
no.
different colours we've had so far.
Well, obviously, it's different
So,
suit colors.
yes and no. So I believe we're heading towards a story arc known as the Invincible War,
Oh.
in which there may be some multiversal shenanigans, and they
Oh.
might be colours of different variants of Mark that we might see.
Ah.
Is my understanding. Some of
Interesting.
whom might be friendly, some of whom might not. Is my understanding.
Interesting.
Yes. And that is also at the end of I think episode 3. Obviously, Angstrom Levy is clearly teased as the shadowy figure, so maybe another version of him is alive, or
Yeah.
he
Oh, yeah,
survived
yeah.
what Mark did to him somehow, or whatever. Which would lead to that theory a bit more cadence, being a multiversal traveler like he is.
We'll have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. The other Amazon Prime show that we're
Yes,
waiting for.
Prime about to hit us with a 1-2.
Mm-hmm. I feel like Prime always do this. Maybe it's just because of the shows we're into over there. But I feel like they never release one show that we want to watch at a time. It's always like, here is 2 shows to just own your episodes for a few
I
weeks.
mean, it's always because we like one of their animated projects at the same time as like a live action one, and they're usually quite different genres in a way. So it's like
Yeah.
it normal circumstances probably wouldn't have much crossover, but for us, we like them both. So
So we're back with season 3 of Jack Reacher.
mm-hmm.
This one looks like a very different story based on the trailers to maybe the first 2 episodes. First 2 seasons rather.
Yeah, a bit more of a purposefully hired job.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Season 1 is very much he just stumbled into something that
yeah,
he found himself in the middle of and couldn't walk away from. Season 2 was trying to avenge fallen friends essentially.
yeah,
And this one, like you say, it looks like he's literally clearly has history with the big bad of this.
yeah.
But someone reaches out to him and goes, "We know you have history. Would you like to make that history finished?"
Yes, would you like
Which
to claim your reward?
exactly, and it's kind of nice to see another angle of Jack
Mm,
Reacher instead of it just being a he rolls into a random city and shenanigans ensue, but rather a case of Jack, we need you to finish something you started a long time ago.
yeah. It'll be interesting to see as well what characters get to reappear again.
Yeah, I think we see Needley in the trailer.
We do, which makes
Um,
sense. She's kind of becoming a joining thread across them.
exactly. But I would be curious to see if we get any others throughout the season as well. And of course, the big selling point when they announced what story they were telling in season 3 was that they found someone bigger than Alan Richardson.
Yes,
Um,
the
which
giant.
I've got a feeling them fight sequences, while they might not be like the most athletically impressive because they're big dudes, I hope they've shot them in a way that you really feel like the weight of each blow.
Yes, I think they're going to be some good fight scenes with a little humor in there because of the situation of, oh, I'm not the big guy anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
I imagine Jack Reacher would be the kind of person who's used to just punching someone and they are unconscious. So the
yeah,
notion that he's going to punch someone and they're going to hit him back harder will naturally be to some comedic effect, I would hope.
yeah. I mean, it's going to be a change of pace for me because I actually have to watch this season as it's coming out.
Yeah,
I can't binge it in 2 days.
that's going to be crazy for you.
Yeah, it's going to feel like the
Um,
longest season of Reacher ever.
and also we're going to get to see like a different style of Reacher doing his work as well. Up until
Yeah,
now, anytime he's done something, he's just been very loud and brash and doesn't really give a fuck.
yeah, he's going
This seems
undercover,
like
ain't he?
he's going to be undercover,
And
which
also,
means he's going to have to operate a bit differently.
how much, like, usually he just does what he wants. I feel like there's going to be a little bit more of like, no, you need to kind of stay in the rules here because otherwise you might get yourself killed.
Hmm It's going to be really fun. Don't get me wrong. Even if it would have seemed like it was similar-ish to the other seasons of turn up, shit ensues, he causes chaos, I still would have been there because
Oh yeah.
they've written the first two seasons so well around that concept. But the idea that we're going to see Reach having to flex different muscles, pardon the pun, and deal with not just being able to be like a battering ram.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It would be nice to like because you get the impression that Reacher, although he comes across as a battering ram, is like a Swiss Army knife. It's going to be
Yeah,
fun to see
in
him use
season
other
2.
parts.
Yeah, season 2 we started to see that, like, oh no, he is actually quite intelligent on top of just being a battering ram. So
Yeah,
there's a chance to see another side of things and like potentially some more backstory into the 110th,
1/10. Yeah.
um, which could be cool. I mean, also it's just like we said at the beginning, we've got 2 animated shows and 1 from Prime. Like it's kind of going to be nice to have some live action stuff to watch at the moment.
Exactly.
But yeah,
And
I mean,
Alan Richardson has been very clear that he'd like to be Bruce Wayne at some point. A little bit of espionage in this might just be the final push he needs to convince me that he does deserve the chance. And as you all know, I am the casting director for Batman, so it's me he needs to convince.
I would say he does somewhat fit that silhouette shape
He's
from
got the
Creature
right build.
Commandos. He's broad enough.
hmm Do
Mm.
you want to know what my biggest issue with Alan Richardson as Batman would be? I think it is that he is a very good-looking dude. He is, but he's a rugged, good-looking dude, not a rich boy-looking, good-looking dude. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Whereas like
He's
Robert Pattinson's a
army.
good-looking dude, but Robert
Yeah,
Pattinson looks like he comes from money.
yeah. That Alan Richards looks like your army good looking, not rich boy
Yeah,
good looking.
which just doesn't quite gel. And don't get me
I know
wrong,
what you
maybe
mean.
that's just because that's how he presents himself. Maybe if he has like a
Yeah,
proper like close shave
probably
and gets put
possibly.
in a tuxedo, I will just go, holy shit, no, that is Batman. But like, that's the bit I think I'd struggle with the most there. But regardless, Reacher season 3, I'm very excited for. It comes out on the 20th of February, so a week on Thursday.
Hmm.
So I'm very excited for that, and we'll be covering that as it comes out. I think last season they did a 2 episode premiere and then one a week after that. So it'll be nice to have a show where I don't have to binge 3 episodes a
You
fucking week.
hope.
Yeah, if they've gone to like how they've done other shows, I'm going to be a little bit sad. You know, I'm a big believer in 1 episode a week. In fact, that's like my only complaint of the other shows that are out at the minute is they're not getting to simmer long enough because
Hmm.
in 4 weeks they're going to be done, which is just criminal.
It's gonna be
But
well timed though, because Spider-Man will have just finished. And we're
yes,
straight into this.
it's always a good time to be around. But let's get into some nerdy news.
Yes, another week of news.
We got some fun bits this week,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the normal just very serious news we cover here. Fantastic Four trailer managed 202 million views inside 24 hours, making it one of Marvel's most ever viewed trailers.
Shocked.
Pikachu
Not.
shocked face.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's insane numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Also, kind of hoped for because it's the Fantastic Four. Like, Marvel will have been expecting this to be their biggest ever. Like, they kind of need it to be.
Mm-hmm. As we discussed last week, there was lots of good stuff to enjoy from that
Mm-hmm.
trailer. It had us very excited, but it's done numbers. I'm seeing a lot of positivity around it. People are excited for it. July cannot come soon enough.
This is true.
Um, we were talking like 2 weeks ago about how we need DC to get back into single player games.
Mm-hmm.
So Bloomberg have a report about the gaming situation over at DC, and it is as follows. They've reported that Rocksteady wants to make a new single player Batman game. Of course, they made the Arkham trilogy,
Yep.
but any game they make is still going to be years and years away because it's not. If it is in active development, it's not officially in active development. They've just made it clear they want another one. So even if it was announced between that report and today, we're probably not seeing it till like 2029 at the earliest.
We've also got to consider that James Gunn has said he wants games included in his DCU, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
it potentially will need to tie into that.
Yeah, which might make the story take a little bit longer because
Yeah.
it might be, say, a prequel to
Yeah.
the Batman we get. This pissed me off to no end. Apparently, there was a Flash game in development at Warner Brothers Montreal, but was scrapped in response to poor movie reception. I am never going to forgive Andy Muschietti and Ezra Miller for what they've done to my boy.
Hey, there's
What do you mean there was a Flash game being made and that film fucking ruined it?
I
Oh,
honestly, with the theme of superhero games that we were getting during that time, this might have been a blessing in disguise.
me decide that, you know? Let me give them
Yeah,
my money and be angry about spending the money, not sat here reminiscing about what I didn't even get.
here's my thought process though. It's like they might have unknowingly saved us from a bad Flash game that James Gunn down the line allows us to have a good Flash game.
I know, but how far away is that going to be, Hori? It's not. There's not even officially one in the works.
Hey, we'll still play it. We'll be on like
I
season
know.
6 of Marvel Rivals.
It's just sad. And on top of all that, the Wonder Woman game that was announced what feels like a billion years ago now, has been rebooted during development at least once.
God.
It's already cost over $100 million, and it is still years away from release. And this part's a direct quote: if it even makes it to market. That is not what you want to hear about a game that's cost $100 million already. When was the Wonder Woman game announced? Let me get an actual date here. When was
Here's
the
my thing
Wonder
as well with like these
Woman game announced?
costs. They never really explain what these costs are.
Do
What they
you
say is
have any rough idea when the game was announced? Just
no
as a
clue. I
guesstimate.
don't even remember it being announced, I'll be honest.
It was announced at the 2021 Game Awards.
So
So we
right
are
post COVID.
3.5 years into development. It's been rebooted once. It's cost them $100 million apparently. Again, like you said, it's difficult to know what that actually means. And it's still years away from development if it even makes it to market. The bit that concerns me about that is actually if it even makes it to market. Because that means they're not 100% sold on what they're even making.
Here's my thing. That cost, like, are they making their own engine for the game? If that's the case, like, that engine can be reused for any game they want to make. Like, the rebooting it doesn't surprise me considering the whole DC situation with then switching to the DCU. Like, it got mixed up in all that. They probably were going to try and tie it into the films, and then, like with
I
the
feel
Flash
like
game, it all blew up.
superhero games, I feel like their stories always will get fucked with during development. We probably just don't hear about it.
Yeah, it.
But
Hey,
I think the big concern is definitely if it even makes it to market, because that does make it seem like there is an internal not even knowing if it's worth releasing.
yeah, it depends if what they're trying. Like, if the story was tied into the films and they've had to restart and they don't know where to go with the story because they don't know if they want to tie it into the DCU. Like, there's so many things now which they might not know what direction they're allowed to go in. Also, if they're wanting to make a Batman game, that there's a potential that this money has gone towards building out a new game engine for all three of these games. So it's like maybe they just scrap that and start working on Batman again. Who knows?
But very worrying times over there in the DC side of the single
I
player video
I
game experiences.
trust in James Gunn.
All of his years of game development knowledge will save
Hey,
us, yeah.
I trust in his creative direction to focus up those game studios.
J.K. Simmons has confirmed in an interview of Collider that he at least has begun working on season 4 of Invincible, further cementing that they continue to aim to have not long breaks going forward. They want to keep that yearly cadence and not slip, which is it's always nice to
Yeah.
know. I feel like every TV show now, I need reassurances constantly that it's not going to be a 2-year wait until the next season.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like they've learned that lesson there.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I understand how much hard work has to go into an
Oh yeah.
animated show of this size. I get that. I just want to know that they're like, if it gets delayed by, like, if it takes 18 months, it takes 18 months. I just like to know that it's being actively worked on, and not they're going to wait
Mm-hmm.
for this show to come out, wait 6 months, and then
Yeah.
start, and then maybe it'll be another 18 months on top of that.
Yeah.
We got a new Thunderbolts trailer at the Super Bowl,
We
and it's
did.
very different to the original trailer.
Yes, gave us a bit more of insight into the reason this group kind of comes together,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of dynamic that this group starts to have. Has us feeling for these heroes a little bit, even though they might have done some wrong things.
I so we will do a character profile in the coming weeks, I'm sure, on the Sentry.
Uh-huh.
So the Sentry, as far as I know, has an alter ego or an evil side, or however it's portrayed, known as the Void. That seems to be what they're fighting.
I was gonna say, is the shadow shit that was happening also Sentry, or is there two villains gonna be in
So
this?
that's the Void,
Right.
which is I can't remember if it's part of Sentry or a Sentry villain, or if they're like intertwined to the point that they're always together, but
Got
they're
you.
not the same entity. It's a little bit confusing. I don't know exactly how that part works. What I will say is the silhouette of Sentry, whether that's being controlled by the Void or whatever, just creating like nuclear shadows of living people on the pavement
Was
is
like
fucking
brutal.
terrifying.
Yeah. That's worse than the snap. Like
Honestly, like seeing people running scared for their life and just being turned into. Like I've
yeah.
seen, like I mean, I'm sure we've all seen like history lessons, like the pictures of the actual like nuclear shadows in like
Yeah,
Nagasaki
and
and
like
stuff,
with
and
volcanoes as well. Like,
they're
yeah.
like horrifically scary. And it's like, oh, that there's something about them that you just look at and you're like, oh, that's really
Mm-hmm.
unsettling. Seeing him turn a person into one,
Yeah,
it's
just vaporize them.
how are these people supposed to fight that?
So we got that. We also got a first look at Avengers Tower being
Yeah, modelled or
reconstructed
whatever.
or remodeled, however you want to do it. There was a court scene
Mm-hmm.
where there was the mention the Avengers are not coming,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is going to be some response to that situation of people being vaporized.
Yeah.
There's a theory going around that the Thunderbolts asterisk, that asterisk is because the Avengers aren't available, or like it's something linked with why it takes it's that's gonna have a tie into why the Avengers are like Thunderbolts Avengers were not available. Um,
I'm incredibly curious about the asterisk still. And as I've said a
yeah,
few times, the only thing I do not want it to be is I don't want it to be used as a joke for like a reveal that they're actually the new Avengers or whatever. If the reveal at the end of the fucking film is that asterisk is just because they don't like the team name Thunderbolts, and then they're gonna give us a different team name, which is gonna be just another Marvel team, that's gonna piss me off. Because it's just the most pointless thing ever. If they
I've
want to if like the asterisk is like a joke about how Sentry was an original Avenger that got forgotten about,
I
I'm less angry
I
about it.
wonder if it's going to be a case of like obviously the Sokovia Accord, like that legal thing of like supposed not to be registered and all this, and it's like, okay, maybe it's from like a court hearing legal document of like in situations of world going to shit, call the
The
Avengers,
oh, and they use the
and
asterisk
then
for Thunderbolts there.
or Thunderbolts asterisk for when the Avengers are not available. Like, you know,
I'm
when
just
you have on a document, you have the little asterisk, and then at the bottom, there's like a little explanation.
yeah,
I feel like
footnotes and stuff.
it's going to be something like that.
But just they've used this asterisk so much in marketing, and I've just got a gut feeling that the way they pay it off, I'm not going to enjoy. And don't get me wrong, I always want to be proven wrong
Yeah,
when I'm being negative about something. But I can't imagine right now a way that they meaningfully pay that off in a way that doesn't make me go, that didn't need to be such like a big fucking secret.
I get what you mean. We'll just have to
But
wait
the
and see.
trailer was awesome.
Yeah,
I saw a lot of people talking like, yeah, it's grey like a lot of MCU films get critiqued for being, but it's a different kind of grey. It's like a nice grey. And I
it's a
kind of
nice
get
grey.
what they're saying. Because it's like a lot of it's set in like New York City, which is a lot of
Mm.
grey buildings. But like it feels like there's a bit more to it than just very flat MCU filming. And I do get what they mean, but
There's a
going it's
lot.
grey, but it's a nicer grey is very funny to me.
I wonder if there's gonna be, because a lot of the marketing is all this like bright yellow.
Hmm.
That's gonna be some.
X-Men reveal, bright yellow X-Men suits. Imagine
That would be a
secret
wild
X-Men
choice.
film.
That the Avengers aren't available, so we're calling the X-Men that. Oh yeah, by the way, they've existed all along. We've just never told you.
Imagine if the first 5 minutes we've just sat here going, "Oh my god, how are they going to fight the Thing? Because he can just turn you into a fucking shadow." What if they all die inside 20 minutes and then it actually becomes the first X-Men film and that's what the asterisk is for? Imagine. I mean, don't get me wrong, they get crucified for killing Florence Pugh,
Yeah,
Sebastian Stan off in the MCU forever, but it'd be kind of cool.
I'll just have to wait and see.
Next up, Joseph Quinn, who is joining the MCU as the one and only Human Torch,
Yes.
has made it clear that he wants his Johnny Storm to interact with Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the MCU. Um, I've made it completely clear that I think this desperately needs to happen if they want the Fantastic Four to feel part of the MCU. The Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four have got a very deep-rooted kind of connection,
Uh huh.
both being New York-based heroes, both being like two of Marvel's oldest and most successful properties. It will be really weird having the Fantastic Four in the MCU and Spider-Man in the MCU and not seeing them meaningfully interact. That would be
Yeah,
really weird.
I agree. I
And it's
mean,
nice to know the actors are fighting for it.
I think unfortunately we'll still be waiting a while because we know this is a different. Like we've got to wait till these worlds are merged. But I
Absolutely.
think that also then helps them because they can be like, oh yeah, they were both versions were already in this world, and now they already kind of have a bit of a relationship going. So have to wait
Um,
and see.
Coleman Domingo has said
Hmm,
there
saw
were
this.
discussions about him replacing Jonathan Majors as Kang in the MCU, but ultimately nothing came of it due to him wanting any role he had within the MCU to be solely his, further stating he didn't want to just be seen as the guy who was recasted.
Hmm.
And since then, he has stated he would be keen to move his role as Norman Osborn in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider Man from animation to live action. I am once again using this to claim that I think this is going to be the new official MCU canon backstory for Tom Holland's Peter Parker post Secret Invasion.
I mean,
It's just starting to line up a little bit too nicely.
the only well, I suppose it can work fine, but presuming we're gonna see him turn into Green Goblin in this animated show would mean by the time he's probably into live action, he would probably already be Green Goblin, which
Fine.
works fine. I know. It's just
The entirety of the Green Goblin for like the last 30 years has been Peter knowing that Norman is
yeah,
the Green Goblin.
true.
So like it's not a huge issue, but I genuinely
It'd
mark
be
it now.
cool
We're
to
not
see
going to
it.
know for what Secret Invasion doesn't come out until 2027. So this will be post Secret Invasion. We'll know. Um, Mark it now. Even if the podcast isn't going in 2028, I am gonna. Even if this has been dead, there's just gonna be an upload of me laughing into the camera, going, "Ha ha! I fucking told you." If I end up being right.
Just be like, I
Um,
found the password just to post this.
I I spent 6 weeks in a YouTube live chat trying to get them to give out access an account back to me. Um, Avengers Doomsday is set to begin filming in March over here in our fair land of England. A couple of very big, important people have already been seen arriving in England, including Sebastian Stan.
Oh.
So I'm pretty confident that he's going to survive Thunderbolts and that jokey theory isn't going to be right, but don't shoot me if I was right. But yeah, who did I see? I saw that he'd arrived and Chris Hemsworth was in England.
Oh.
Now, it is very possible that Chris
They're just
Hemsworth and Sebastian Stan just happened to be in England,
yeah.
but with the film rumored to start filming in March, it'd be foolhardy of us to not potentially assume they have something to do with that.
I mean, if I'm also Marvel, purely for the sake of just
Pay for a
throwing,
holiday for him.
just fly out like every fucking MCU actor, and like have him here for a couple of weeks, bring him back in 6 months again, and people are just gonna be like so confused of who's in this film.
Imagine if you're someone who's been linked with being a Marvel character before, and it's never happened, you've never even had a meeting about it, and you just happen to visit London right now, and you just see the internet, your name starts trending, and your publicist's like, what the, why are you trending on Twitter? And you look and it's just like, oh, so-and-so who was rumoured to be so-and-so is in England, and you're like, I live here.
just like just get all of them and
Was it
like
that,
have them go out for dinners together.
I can't remember who it was. I think it was Sabrina Carpenter, who was an actress and a singer for Disney Channel before she focused in on her singing career. She said she'd love to play a character in Marvel, which doesn't surprise me. She seems like the kind of person who'd be down for it. And she said that it's been mentioned before her playing like a variety of different characters. And she's like, and anytime someone mentions it, I get really anxious because even though I've not had the meeting, I've not had the discussions, nothing's ever happened, I instantly feel like I'm saying something I shouldn't. And I'm like, yeah, that must actually be genuinely terrifying.
That's just reminded. There's a clip of Anthony Mackie doing an interview, obviously for Captain America coming up, and I don't know the actor's name that's now playing Falcon, the younger lad, but they're on like got asked a question about like,
Oh, I think I saw this clip.
how do you feel like what's it like with these actors, and he's like, oh well, I'm really looking forward to seeing the old MCU meet with the new MCU, and you can see on the young lad's face is like wide-eyed looking at him like, are you fucking leaking something right now? And like you can just see that he's gone panic mode, and then he's sort of, and I'm like, what? She asked me what I want to see, and I'm like, either you've just recovered that very well, or you have slipped up slightly.
This is the beauty of it now. We've had such a long history of stuff slipping and stuff with us thinking something slipped and it's actually a double bait. To the point now where you could legit come out and tell us the entire plot to a film and we can't trust you because people like Anthony Mackie especially love fucking with us.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like the younger lad that's playing Falcon, they're like, he is newer to the MCU. So it's safe to assume he's not gonna have the same level of access and information that Anthony Mackie is gonna have about the future. And it was like, is this he knows something and he's like, oh shit, you're leaking? Or is this he's thinking, wait, I don't know this, you just leaked something? Like,
yeah, that moment of, I don't even know this, what do you mean? I mean, to be fair, Anthony Mackie is like one of the faces of the MCU now. He's Captain fucking America. So if you don't know something and then he's talking about old meeting new and you're aware that like old characters have come in before and stuff, and you're just there like, is there something I don't know that he's now leaking? Because if I don't know it, they definitely shouldn't know it. Type B, absolutely. But again, it's one of them things we won't know for sure whether, like you say, he's just panicked and it was actually a nothing answer, or if he's thought he's giving something away and his face has ended up giving it away. It's fucking comedy. I love it so much. It's why I've loved Harrison Ford in the press roundup so much, because he doesn't give a fuck about leaking and he wouldn't react if he accidentally did leak something, so it's no way of knowing if he's leaking something. It's brilliant. And the final bit of brilliant news, Andy Serkis, my hero, one of my favourite actors, has said that he's been told the story of the Batman 2 by Matt Reeves and he is as hungry as you all are for it.
Yeah, he let us know that he's going to be playing Gollum in the Batman 2.
Obviously I don't know. As an outsider looking in, I view Andy Serkis as someone who's like an absolute artist in the field. brilliant writer, brilliant director, brilliant actor.
Yeah.
He is one with the art. I
Mhm.
feel like if you'd written a script or had a story and you told it to Andy Serkis, and his response was that positive,
Mm.
that it would be such a euphoric feeling.
Oh yeah, and knowing that he's playing Alfred,
Mm-hmm.
like if he's that excited for this story, you're like, oh, we're gonna get some good kind of chemistry here in the
Yeah,
next one between them two.
it's very exciting times indeed.
Mm-hmm.
What a time to be a nerd, man.
It's gonna be
There's
a
never
great
really
year
a
to be
bad
a
time to be a
nerd.
nerd, but this year especially is looking real good.
It is.
Um, but that is all for this episode. We'll be
Yes.
back next week with Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man finale, more Invincible,
Yeah. Cap-
gaming news, Captain
Captain
America,
America. Yeah.
gaming news. It's going to be crazy. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you there.
See you next week.